episode number 8 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania in the United States, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into as much crafty goodness as I possibly can. Today is Saturday, November the 3rd, 2018. I can't believe we're already in November. The time is going by so fast. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'd like to say a huge welcome to any new viewers and a huge welcome back to all of my returning viewers. I thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to come and visit with me today. This podcast is mostly a knitting podcast, primarily a knitting podcast, although I will have a little bit here and there with a few other things that get my attention and kind of send me down a little squirrel, look. I do tend to go rattling down a few little squirrel trails here and there with all sorts of other crafts, but primarily this podcast focuses mostly on knitting. So pull up a chair, grab your knitting or whatever other crafting project you're working on, grab yourself a beverage, sit back and enjoy. Let's get ready to chat for maybe half an hour or so about what knitting and other things I've been up to in the past week. So just as a starting point, what am I drinking? I always seem to have a beverage. I always seem to have a beverage. That's what it is, a beverage. I always seem to have a beverage with me, a little bit to keep my whistle wet as I'm sitting here yapping away. Today I'm drinking some tea from Stash. No. It's Stash tea, and it is Christmas in Paris. It's an herbal tea. It has, let's see if I can get the ingredients into focus for you. Just a little heads up, I'm using a new camera setup. I'm using our good camera, but it doesn't have a flip screen, so I'm not able to actually see what it is I'm doing right now. So I'm just here using a hope and a prayer that everything that I'm saying and doing is actually in frame, in focus, and that this is actually working. I'm going to have to work on looking at how I can set it up so that I have another screen here so I can see what I'm doing at the same time as I'm taping, because I think this might be the best camera to use for doing my podcasting. It has the best focus, the best, what's the word I'm looking for? It produces the best image of either using a camcorder, which is definitely not a high def camcorder. My phone is not bad, but it's not the greatest. And this camera that I'm using, a Canon EO5 Rebel, is that what it is? Anyway, it was a camera I bought for my husband for our 25th wedding anniversary, and it's a nice high-end camera, or at the time was a nice high-end camera. So anyway, there we go down another rabbit trail, sorry people. Tea, that's what we were talking about, right? Good grief. So anyways, the ingredients in this tea, it's a caffeine-free herbal tea called Christmas in Paris. A little bit of the information on the packaging. I'm just kind of hoping that's focusing. I don't quite know the ingredients. So it is caffeine-free herbal tea. It is made with cocoa shells, peppermint, lavender, chocolate flavor, and vanilla extract. And it is really, really delicious. It has a very, very faint chocolatey mint flavor to it, which is really nice. It's a light, delicate flavor, and I really quite enjoy it. This is nice. This is a really nice tea. So I do not have any finished objects to show you this week. We had a finished object last week. I finished off my socket slouch hat. This week I focused primarily on my Texture Time shawl, and I also have a new cast on. And I'll talk about the Texture Time shawl for a little bit first, and then I'll show you what I've cast on in the past week. So my Texture Time shawl, it is by Stephen West. It is a mystery shawl pattern that came out earlier this fall. Each week through the month of October, we were given a new clue in the shawl. So the first week in October, we received the first clue, then the second, third, fourth, and actually a fifth bonus clue came out on the last weekend in October. So I'm about almost halfway finished the second clue. So I'm a long way from finishing this. I'm hoping to have it ready once it starts to get a little bit colder out so that I can use it by then. But in the meantime, I'm not fussed at all that I have not finished the shawl. There's quite a few people in the Ravelry group that have completed their shawl already, and they've got it all done. I'm just enjoying the knit. I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying the yarns. I'm just enjoying the pattern. So it is one that I do have to focus a fair bit on, so it's not one that I can haul around with me and work on a lot all over the place, but it's one that I enjoy just sitting back, relaxing with it and working on it in the evenings, also in the mornings while I'm drinking my tea before I head off to work. So anyway, I am using my own hand-dyed yarn for most of the shawl. The shawl calls for one main color, 3 contrast colors, plus a 4th contrast color that is also one that is a different texture type of yarn than the first 4 yarns are. So I dyed the first 4 yarns, the main color plus the first 3 of the contrast colors. I dyed those myself using Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Bear yarn. So I dyed those myself, and I've showed you these in previous episodes, but these are the 4 colors that I'm using. The charcoal kind of color is the main color, and then I'm using the pink, the purple, and the turquoise color as the first 4 of the contrast colors, or the first 3. Karen can't count today apparently. Maybe I shouldn't have switched to caffeine-free herbal tea this early in the day. Anyway, so this is the main color plus 3 of the contrast colors. And it also uses, let me just put those down there. It also uses a 4th contrast color, which is to have a different texture than the other yarns that are being used. So for this one, I am using this pretty yarn. This is the yarn is Knit Picks Aloft in the colorway Celestial. It is 75% Super Kid mohair and 25% silk. It's a lace weight yarn, and when I first started working with it, I found that it was too thin compared to the other yarns, and it was just kind of getting lost in the pattern, even though it was to have the texture. So what I decided to do with it is I'm holding the yarn double with some bare yarn. So I'm just using a fingering weight bare yarn, and I'm holding it double with the mohair, and that's bringing it up to the right thickness so that it matches and it coordinates nicely with the other yarns. So those are the yarns I'm using for my Texture Time shawl. Now, if you are, and the other thing, one more thing I want to mention before I show you where I'm at with the shawl. I'm using 3.75 millimeter needles, or US 5, and they're Knitter's Pride interchangeable needles. And quite like these needles. I bought them fairly recently, and they're just, I find they're very pleasant to work with. So anyways, if you are someone who is still working on this shawl and still wants to keep it a mystery and a surprise, I will post someplace down, somewhere along the bottom of the screen here, I will post and let you know when it's safe to look back so that you don't ruin the surprise. I suspect that no one out there that's planning on working it is much farther behind than I am, or people that are going to join in at a later date are likely those that don't want the surprise. They want to wait and see what the shawl looks like before they commit to casting on. So anyways, I will post a little note down here about, I'll put a timestamp down here for when it's safe to look back if you want to keep this a surprise. So where's the top? So here is where I'm at now. So the center portion here is the first clue. And then the second clue adds these little squiggle sections with some Latvian braid detail along with it. What happens with the shawl, this portion on this side is going to be repeated on this side. So the shawl, when it's complete, will fall down your back. This will go down the center of your back, and then the shawl is going to head off in either direction from the first clue. So here's where I am so far with, maybe if I show it this way it might show up a little bit more clearly. So here's where I'm at so far with the second clue. And the second clue is going to have 5 of these are the texture portions here, the blue. It's going to have 5 of those, plus it will have 6 of the Latvian braid detailed section as well. So I'm almost done the first half of the second clue, where I have 4 of these done. I have to do one more. I'm ready to do the next braid. Then I'll do one more section of the squiggle section, and then one more braid. And then I'm ready to either move on and start on the third clue on half of the shawl, or I will go and I will do the second half of the second clue on the other half of the shawl. So if you've been looking away, you're safe to look back now. I'll put a little timestamp when I started this portion, so you know when it's safe to come and look back. So that is one of my works in progress that I spent a fair bit of time working on that this past week. The other work in progress I have that, let's back this up just a second. I also have my row cardigan. I haven't had a chance and haven't spent any time with that in the last several weeks. I did, however, a couple days ago, I sat down and I got 2 more hanks of yarn out and I wound those up into 2 cakes, because I was at the point on doing the 2 sleeves where I was almost out of the yarn for those, so I hadn't got around to doing up the cake, so I just kind of put it aside. I'll come back to it shortly. So I probably only have a few more inches of the sleeve cap to do on the 2 sleeves. So yesterday or the day before, I sat down and caked up 2 more hanks of yarn so that I'm ready to get going on that. So I really should probably try to get those 2 sleeves finished up soon, because I really would like to wear that cardigan sometime this winter once it starts getting colder out. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that I will, hopefully I'll be able to show you a couple completed sleeves on that project in the next week or 2, I'm hoping. So my work in progress, the second work in progress that I spent a fair bit of time working on, sometime this past week working on, is it's a brand new cast on, and they are my Christmas socks or my festive socks, or a pair of Christmas or festive socks. I'm using yarn that I dyed myself. Remember before I kept pointing to two of the yarns that were up here? I took one of them and I've caked it up. So it's using Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Bear, and I've dyed it in this nice colorway. And basically what I did was I just had a long stretch of white, and then I just did a few flashes of red and green. So I have a little flash of red, then green, then red, then green, then red again. The second skein uses the same colors, but it's more random. This one was a lot more specific. The color was specifically placed. So I caked that up recently, and October 28th, I think I cast this on. So I got started on a pair of just plain vanilla socks, Christmas socks. So here's what they look like. So the yarn plays up in a really fun way on here. It kind of spirals around the sock, which I think is kind of fun. I know there's some people that really don't like the flashing and pooling of the variegated yarns. I do like it. I think it's kind of fun. So this is where I'm at now with these socks. I'm doing them 2 at a time on Magic Loop. I'm using 2.25 millimeter or US size 1 needles. They are my Addy Sock Rockets. I have no idea what the length of the cable is. I'd have to go rooting through my stuff to find out what the length of the cable is. But anyways, so I don't have a specific pattern for this. It's just kind of a basic vanilla sock recipe. I cast on 64 stitches for each, and I did a 2x2, just a regular 2x2 ribbing I just did the 2x2 ribbing, and I did that for 20 rows. I did the 2 ribbing separately, and then once I had that done, I joined the 2 of them together on one needle, or one set of needles and cable. And then what I plan on doing is I'll continue knitting for a length of time until they're probably probably roughly 7 inches long, give or take a bit. I really don't like my socks to be extra long. I have heavy calves, and I find that my socks are just a lot more comfortable if they only go up to roughly the bottom of my calves. So I don't tend to knit my socks especially long. So what I'll do is I'll go till they're about 7 inches long. Then I'll get ready to do the heel. My preferred heel is a slip stitch heel flap with then the heel turn and the gussets, and then I'll keep doing my stockingette all the way down the foot until I get to the toe. And I usually do a wedge toe where I decrease every second row for a certain number of rows, and then I'll decrease every row for a certain number of rows until I'm down to probably 8 to 10 stitches on each needle. So I have big square feet. I don't have my toes aren't very pointy. They're quite square. So I prefer a wedge toe. It fits my foot far more comfortably. So that's about it for my works in progress. So I basically worked most of the time this week. I've worked on either my Texture Time shawl or my Christmas socks. And oh, that's what else I forgot to mention. These are socks that I'm planning on making for Christmas. They are part of the festive sock knit along that Amy Florence from the Stranded podcast has running on her Ravelry group, and that she's mentioned in her podcast as well. So she has a cal going along where or a challenge that she's made for herself a couple years ago, where she challenged herself to make 24 pair of festive socks, so that she would have a different pair of socks to wear each day in December leading up to Christmas. And I thought that sounded really fun. So I'm going to join along I have joined along in that knit along. This is my first pair of socks that I'm knitting currently. What I think I plan on doing is I will probably go rooting through my collection of socks and see what I have that are socks that I would think are festive. And for me, festive is in greens, whites, and reds. So I do have quite a few socks that I've knit in the last maybe year or so that have been worn very rarely. Some of them have not been worn at all. I seem to have got on a kick for a while with making oodles of socks but not wearing them, which seems kind of strange. I'm clearly in those cases was a process knitter. I enjoyed the process of knitting them, and then I didn't really do anything with the product once I was done. So what I think I will do is I am going to go through all of my socks and see if I can kind of build up a bit of a festive sock basket that I have ready for wearing once the Advent season starts and once the holiday Christmas season starts up in the beginning of December. So I think I will have a bit of a head start in getting 24 pair of socks ready to wear through the first part of December leading up until Christmas. So we shall see how many I get done. But I think that over time I do want to build up a festive sock basket so that I have that for subsequent years, so that I can wear a different pair of festive socks each day of December, or each day in December leading up until Christmas. So that sums up my knitting progress that I've made throughout the past week. What I want to talk about for a few minutes now are some of the acquisitions that I've made in the past week. I ordered a little while back. I was watching the Nordic Stitches, either her podcast or her vlog. I don't remember which of the two it was. But anyways, it was the Nordic Stitches, and she was having a sale in her Etsy shop with her stitch markers. So I thought, I'm going to go take a peek at them. Well, I fell in love with some of them, and I thought, yeah, they have to come. They have to come to the United States and live with me. So anyway, I found these 3 stitch markers that I thought were just the cutest darn things. This one is adorable, it's so pretty. This one says Merry Christmas in Norwegian. I think it's really, really cool because my ancestors almost all came from Iceland, and Merry Christmas in Iceland is spelled and looks very similar to that. So I thought that was really cool, so I wanted that one. And then this one was just, I can't see where I'm pointing. This one is just so adorable. Here's the sheep's butt and the front. And I just thought that was just the sweetest thing. It just cracks me up that they've got the hind end of the sheep and the front end of the sheep on the same stitch marker. It's too darn cute. So I got those 3, plus there's also a little packet of 4, let me get one of them out of here. They're 4 rings with a pretty little pearl type bead on it. And I thought those were really nice. I really like this style of stitch marker. I guess these ones perhaps are more of the progress keepers, where they're removable. They have the little lobster claw or lobster clasp on the top of it, so you can just move them around as you want. These are the ones that will slide onto the needle to mark the spaces between repeats and things like that. So I picked up those. So those are from Nordic Stitches, and I love them. So thank you Lily for making those and for having them, actually getting them sent out to me. They came really fast, and I love them. I'm looking forward to getting them into my knitting and starting to use them. So that was one acquisition that I had. The other acquisition I made two purchases. Let me get them separated here. The first was a lot on eBay. I hadn't been on eBay in, oh gosh, it had been a long time since I had done any shopping on eBay. And so I just went on there, I was just looking around, and I guess I've just seen on a few podcasts people were talking about different knitting magazines, and I thought, I wonder if there's anything available on eBay. So I started poking around and looking around, and sure enough, I found a lot of books or magazines, publications that there was one that was a set of six different books or magazines. So I thought, I really like that. So I bid on it, and I was the lucky person that won on the auction. And so they just arrived earlier today when we came home this morning. Later this morning we came home, and these were sitting and waiting. So the first one is this one. And the first three of these books are ones that I'm not entirely sure I will keep them. They look like they're really adorable books, but they're not necessarily along the lines of my style of crafting. They are, the first three that I'm showing, they are all crochet, and I do enjoy crochet, but it's not something I do as often now, and particularly not the little, I want to call them the little fiddly things, but they're not something that I tend to do a lot. So I might put them up, the first three up as a de-stash on Ravelry. I'll mull that over. I still have to think about that. But I suspect that the first three I'm showing you are going to be ones that I probably will rehome someplace else. So this is the second one. So again, they're little crochet, and I'm not into the little crocheted stuffed things. It's an adorable book. The things in there they're really cute, but it's just not something I really don't see myself making them anytime in the near future. Another one, this is one that it's designed as, all of the designs are making small squares that you then put together to create the different designs on there. And this one's also really cute. It is something, this one I actually might keep, because I have in the past made several crochet blankets that have been using, they actually come out looking like quilt patterns, where each of the squares are done, they're a small two round granny square, and then they're all stitched together to create a quilt pattern. And they're quite nice. So that book, I might keep that one for myself. I'm not 100% sure on that. The other one I bought, this one I'm definitely keeping. It's Amirisu. I'm hoping I'm not pronouncing that horribly wrong. But it's a Japanese knitting pattern book. And it has some really nice patterns in there. The patterns are in both English and the patterns are all they're English and Japanese. So I think that's really interesting. It's a bilingual magazine. So they have some really interesting articles in here, and there's some pretty patterns. I'm trying to see if there's... No, I can't really find... No. I was trying to see if there was... if there was just a picture that showed all of the different patterns that are included in here. This is the Spring/Summer 2015 issue, so issue number 7 from Spring and Summer 2015. So I'm thinking I wouldn't mind collecting the rest of these. I was looking on Ravelry at some of the others, and they've got some really pretty patterns in here. I think this one has six patterns. But this was a nice little surprise that came in here, and I was really happy to get this one. Also in this lot of books that I found on eBay were these two. So these are 2 older issues of PomPom magazine. And they are from summer 2014, so it's issue number 9, and winter 2015, which is issue number 15. So these 2 were included in that lot, and that was why I was so excited about bidding on that lot, and I was so excited when I discovered that I won this lot. There was also, I was looking around for other back issues of PomPom, and what I found was that Knit Picks had a couple issues that were hard copy issues that they had available on their website. So I went and looked at those. One of them was on sale, was on clearance, and one of them was the regular price. So I was able to get these 2 issues of PomPom Quarterly from the Knit Picks website. And these ones are the spring and autumn 2017 issues. So issues 20 and 22. So my collection of PomPom magazines has gone from 0 to 4 in no time at all. I also have I have a bid in on another lot with some PomPom Quarterly magazines on eBay. The auction closes in a little over an hour from now when I'm taping this, so I'm just crossing my fingers that I win that auction as well. And if I don't, it's not the end of the world. I'm fine with that. But I am crossing my fingers that I do win that auction. So what else did I want to talk to you about? I finished Vlogtober. I posted a short, no, not always short, but I posted a video each and every day throughout the month of October. And what surprised me with it is that I had such a fun time doing that. And I'm also having such a fun time filming these podcasts. I'm finding it is something that I very much enjoy doing. So I think that's about all I have to talk to you about today. I hope you've had a nice time sitting here, sipping your beverage and crafting and watching me, listening to me rattle on about some of the things I'm working on. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, fantastic rest of the week. I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. If you have not yet, I ask that you please like and subscribe my channel. It really helps to bring a little bit more attention to my tiny little YouTube channel. So please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Also down below I will have links to all the different projects I talked about today, the different podcasters I mentioned where I talked about some CALs that I'm taking part in. I'll talk about and list some of the things I purchased down there. And also in my show notes, you'll have information on where you can find me on other social media. So on Facebook, on Instagram, on Ravelry, these different things. So all of that information will be down below. So take care, everyone. Hope you have you're having a fantastic time. Happy crafting, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.